Alright, this is a login system created with Laravel. Let me show you what it does. This login system prevents the URL called home. It will not allow you to access unless you have an account. So you can see I'm trying to access the URL called home. I'm not able to access it because it says create account or login. So let's just create the account. So here again I have used the validation. If you click on register, you see these fields are required. So let me type the URL, sorry, let me type the name, UI monk, and the password, and course start date. I have made the validation saying that this course start date should be like the day greater than today. So today is March 3, so if I select February 1, you will get an error. So this is gender and this is the course. Click on register. You will see the course date must be greater than today. So again, UI monk, gender, course, and the course start date, let's just make this tomorrow, which is 4. Click on register. Once you do this, you will be redirected or saying that this is registered successful, and we need to click on the login button. Now we can log in with the credentials which we have used in the register page. Now if I try to access again, you won't be able to have access. Let me log in with the credentials, which is UI monk and the password, and click on login. Now you will have access to it, to the dashboard. Now if you wish to log out, just click on this and you will be logged out. Again the same way, the login also has the validation, name required and password required. Now if I again try to access without logging in, you will be redirected to the register page saying that create account first or login. Here for this tutorial I'll be using the template from colorlib.com. I'll leave the link for the download of this HTML template in the description along with the source code. In case you got stuck, you can just copy paste the code and start along with me. Now if you click on download, it will get downloaded. And if you're new to this channel, you can start learning Laravel from the playlist. So this playlist starts from the absolute beginner to the intermediate level. So in this case you are learning Laravel, so you need to get into that Laravel playlist. And here I have approximately 30 videos, and if you are a very beginner, I would suggest you to start from episode number 1 and reach till here. And now I can mute this. And right now we are at the episode number 30. So we have seen installing form validation, and we are at the stage where we are able to convert the HTML template into Laravel template and add validation, and then use the Laravel's authentication system and use the middleware to block the URL. So we at episode number 30, you can confidently say that what I've said previously, you can confidently say you can do that. So I would be upgrading this playlist every week, so enjoy the process. Alright, let's start installing Laravel first. Let's open the command prompt, and we have to navigate into C drive, change directory, XAMPP, change directory htdocs, change directory Laravel projects. This is the folder where we have all our Laravel projects. And now change directory, so we are going to install Laravel in this folder. Let's do that. We have to paste the command, and we are saying that composer create a project and download the Laravel package and name the Laravel package as the folder subscriber 7, and the preferred Laravel version is 8.6.3. This is the command, and you click on enter. It will start downloading the Laravel into this folder, which is inside Laravel projects. Now here, after installing, you will find one more folder called as subscriber 7. By that, let's just open XAMPP. You have to make sure your XAMPP is running, or else it won't work, because we will be connecting database with your Laravel projects. To open database, we need XAMPP. Once it's get downloaded, you need to get into that folder. So cd subscriber 7, and after that we need to install Laravel UI package. And after Laravel UI package, you need to install authentication package that will be required for login and logout module in your Laravel projects, and then we need to run npm install and run. And once it's done, again the authentication package for Laravel, and then we need to run npm install and run dev. According to your system, you may need to run npm run dev again after writing this code. Let's just wait. I had to run npm run dev again because I could not see the table at the end. So now that's done. Now we can run php artisan serve to make our website, or to make our Laravel project live on the browser. php artisan serve. So once you see the IP address, you can see this is the default welcome page, and this is the default login page, and this is the default registration page. Now let's just open phpMyAdmin and create database so that we can link it with Laravel. So by the time, let's just create another command prompt. Let the server be running on the first command prompt, and let's just give to to the Laravel via this command prompt. So cd samp cd htdocs cd Laravel projects cd subscriber 7, and now create a new database and call it as subscriber 7 and create. And if you wish to load your Laravel project in Visual Studio Code, you just need to type code and dot. Now this will load your Laravel project, which is subscriber 7, into the Visual Studio Code. So now it's ready. You can see in the top it's Visual Studio subscriber. Now I have already opened one. Let me close that. We don't need it anymore. Now in the env file, we have to give the database. Here what we can give is, it's subscriber 7. I'm using XAMPP, so the username is root and the password is blank by default. Now so I was just checking whether the date is in which format. If I select this and get into this and console $0 dot value, so this is coming as month, sorry, date, month and year. So I'm just checking whether the database date would accept this. So no worries, we can directly have this date. And once this is done, you have to get into the command prompt and type php artisan migrate. So we are migrating the table. That means whatever the code that you have given, it would be migrated as the column or the tables. So if I make a refresh, you'll see by default 5 tables are there, but the table that we need to focus on is, sorry, it's users. So in the users we have name, password, gender, course start, courses, and these are default columns. If you wanted, you can remove that, but let's just keep as it is. It's not going to affect our code at all. Now you can see, if I click on register, the data that would be sent is in the action attribute. So here register in the form action. So before that, let's just create a controller. So why do we need controller? So in the action you will see we need to create a URL. So all the data after submitting the form is here. So let's just say is here, and if I refresh this page and click on submit, you will see the URL changes to is here. So to handle the data that we get from form, I want a controller, so that with the help of controller we can receive the form data and send it to the database with model. So that's the reason I'm using, or I'm creating model now, sorry, controller now. So over here I'm saying artisan make controller and let the controller be custom login with all the functions, necessary functions. So in the app, in the HTTP, in the controller you will find custom login controller. So now in the web.php, so what happens is whenever you type login, Laravel will get into web.php, which you can find in routes web.php, and that means, let me just give you an example. If I search for home, this is typo, if you search for home, Laravel will get to web.php, and in the web.php there is a controller called home controller. So Laravel will get into that. So here if you see home controller, and in the home controller, where is web.php? In the home controller you will see the function that is dealing with this URL is index. So here you will see when there's a call for login, Laravel will get into the web.php and it will get into the controller, and the function that is going to handle this URL is index. So let's see what is there in index. So in the index we are returning the view. So view is nothing but an HTML which is inside a resources folder, resources, views, and you'll see home. So home.blade.php is equal to this home. So if I click, and by default Laravel has a authentication, so let me just comment that, and if I type something here in home, let's say hello from UI monk. Now if I search for home, you will see hello from UI monk shows up. So that's very simple or straightforward. This URL is handled by the index function in this home controller, and the home in the index function it is just returning the HTML. So we are doing the same for the submit. So over here we don't need custom login in the register file. So here we need to create a URL in the form attribute. So over here, yeah, here. Now we are going to use the Laravel code. So route, and here we are going to pass register submit. So now this is the name of the route, this is the function name, and this is the URL. So when you hit this URL, it should not get into the home controller, but it should get into this custom controller, and the function that is register submit, we need to create that register submit right now. Register submit, just, and register submit will accept a request, and this is the reference to that object. Now if you want to display the request, you just need to call the all function, and that's it. And now if I submit from the register, all the data will get into the register submit. There is a problem here, it's not get, it's post. Whenever you submit, the post is the method. So if you click on register, again in the Laravel there is a special directory called cross-site request forgery. So on each form submit, Laravel will send a token to it. It says page expired @ cross-site request forgery. I think I have not saved it, that's the reason. Refresh it. Now click on submit. So this token comes from cross-site request forgery. Now name, password, and course is getting saved, but we don't see gender and the courses. Cool. So what happens is you have to get into that users model. So here, over here you will find app models, users models. You just have 3, that's why it is accepting only 3. So let's just make all the available columns here. So we have name, we have password, we have course start, we have gender, and we have courses. Now refresh it. Let's just try again, and there should be a value. There is a problem with HTML. Female, other, JavaScript, Laravel, and then we have After Effects. Now let's try again. Click on submit. Cool. The problem is you have to select this and select this drop down and click on register. You see gender and course shows up. Now that's cool, but the thing is we don't need null to be displayed. So in that case we can add a validation in the controller. So here we can use the code for validation, and here these are the validation. The name is required, the password is required, the gender is required, the course is required, and the start date. The start date is nothing but our course date. It is required, it should be date, it should be a format of DMY, and the main important condition is it should be greater than today. If you select the date which is older, it should throw an error. So now this is not only enough. Now if you see, if you click on register, the form won't get submitted. Instead it will redirect you to the same page, but the error should show up, but the error is not showing. So in the register, just below your HTML, you need to get the errors. And now the name, this is the name attribute, this is the name again, and here what you need to do is, this is how it should be. Now if you, since we have made this required, if you click on register, you should see $name is invalid. I think it's just a name variable. Submit, and you can see something is missing. I'm sorry for that. This should be first. Errors and the first function. This first function is nothing but when this gets satisfied, this validation gets satisfied, then this is the first. If these two are satisfied, then it this acts as first. So that's the reason why we call first. Now if you click on register, you will see this name field is required. If you want to customize this validation, so before customizing, let me just make this available for all the attributes. So make sure to pass the proper name attribute, or else you will get an error. Control V to hide the sidebar. Gender, name attribute, courses again. So if I make, if I submit again, you see the error in all fields. So if you want to customize this required error message, what you have to do is you have to get into resources, lang validation, and search for required. So you can just see the name, the title is required. Refresh it, and if you see, just name required, password required, and shows up. Now if I type name and give some password, let me just use the same password as my name. So if I select which is previous date, which is now today date is like 3, I guess. No, it's 3. Now if you select which is not 3 or less than 3, if I say 1st of March, let me just submit all the other value and click on register. You will see the course date should match the format date. So the first thing is we can remove that. Anyway, it is going to give that same as we have seen on the 0 custom login. Remove the date format, and you see there is two mistakes here. The course date must be a date or after or equal to today. So before that, if I just type Vishal and click on register, you'll see the Vishal gets disappeared. The value of input field gets disappeared. So to stop that, what you have to do is we have a function on. We just need to say a value, and we need to pass the old attribute and pass the name here. The same goes for this password don't accept, so it's better. Now if you see, if I type Vishal and click on register, name would stay. Cool. Once this is done, what we need to do is we need to call the model just above the head section. So here we would be using model, we would be using authentication class for login and logout, we would be using hash to save the password in hash format, and we'll be using session to send data between two pages. Now what I did is we have called the model and used the create function and pass. These are the column names, and these are the relevant input field names. Instead of birthday, it should be course start, gender, and courses. So once it is saved, I wanted to redirect to the register and with the message saying that message registered successful. Now in the register page, just below your button, you need to make sure to accept the message that we have received. In this case, it is registered successful. So here I'm checking if the session has a message, then get the message. Get the message, along with the message give the login button. So let's just see, refresh it, and if there's a problem at the rate endif, it's a directive of Laravel. So Vishal is the name and this is the password. Vishal is again the password. The course start date should start, a date should be greater than today or equal to today. Mail, and the course is Laravel. And if I just to check the validation, let's just see, I selected the February 29 and click on register. So it says the course date is not a valid date. So password again, and the course date 4th, which is tomorrow. Click on register. The data is undefined. Actually, we have missed one line in the code. So this value which we received from the input field should get saved into the variable called data, and now we can access this data as an associative array. Gender, male, JavaScript, invalid date time. So this is invalid, says for column. So if I make a refresh, there won't be any entry, but it says this is not the right format to accept. So in that case, you can get into SQL or structure and modify the data type as string instead of date. So course start, change, and here this you can make this as varchar, save. And if I try to check the manual as correspond, what I did is I have given the varchar 255 as the length, so it accepted it. Click on register, and now you should see a button saying that register successful, but there is a button, it's not showing up. It's because of the CSS. So you can give style color red, font weight :900. Now if I make refresh, and you should see there is first table, and let's just try with different name. Agnel, password same, the date 4th, course start date, and the gender, and Laravel register. And if you see, there would be 2 columns. Now we can get into login, and here we can try it with name and password, and the same way what we have did for the register, you have to do it for the login, which is nothing but we have to first set the form action, and this we can name the function as login submit, and make sure to have this URL relevant function and the route name. We have used this route name over here. This is the route name, and make sure this is post, and the same way in the custom login you have to use the same function. Here there is a change of function name which is login. Again we need to check for validation. So for validation, yes, validation, we can make that valid, and this is how we set for validation. Get the with the help of request, validate the name is required and password is required, and save the name and password into the associative array called data. And to throw the error, we need to use the same what we did, the error directory. Call the error directory and pass the name attribute. Cool. Now if I login without typing the value, you should get the validation. Now what we can do is we need to check. Previously we have used create query. Now we would be checking whether the value exists in database or not. Custom login over here, and now since we have used authentication here, authentication class, the authentication class has the function called attempt. So we are passing the associative array. If the login is successful, then execute the function. If the login is failed, then send back to the login page saying that login failed or incorrect credentials. Now we need to, since we are using session, we need to display the message as well in the session. Copy this just below your button. We don't need this login button as of now. We just need to show the message. If there is a session, then get the session. Refresh it, and if I try something which is not there in the database, UI Monk, I have not registered it yet. If I click on register, you will see incorrect credentials. Cool. And if you want, you can make this strong, and again incorrect credentials, or you can make or give the login link. Or the register link. Control V, it should be register, and over here you can make this register. Now if you type the wrong username, you'll see incorrect credentials. If you want, you can register it. Cool, that's done. So what if the credentials are right? Then in that case, with the help of auth class, you need to get the ID. So what is the ID? If the user is logged in, so you will get this ID. You can see this ID, and what I need is I want this ID to be stored into the variable called user ID. Why I'm doing this? Because I can get access to the whole column. Now I'll be writing a query that will have access to the whole column with the help of this ID. Let's just do that. Now you see I'm passing this ID and using the find attribute, find static function of model, and I'm storing the whole column, whole row data with the help of ID into a user data. Now what I'll do is I'll store this whole column data. You see the whole column is inside this user data. Now I want to store it into a session. So what I did is, now since we have access to the whole row, I'm storing it into a session. Why session? Because if your website has 5 pages, the whole 5 pages will have access to that individual row. And then I want to redirect to home. So the URL Agnel is there, so let's type the username Agnel is there, so Agnel again, AGNEL. Click on login. Now you will be redirected to login page. Now we can write, if you click on logout, it will get logout. So for that, again we need to write URL login logout, and this is the function and this is the name. So in the custom login, again we can create a function login logout, and we need to use the auth class to log out, and we need to clear all the created sessions and then redirect to login page. After that, what we need to do is we need to use this login logout URL. So you need to find this home, as I have already shown you in the starting. This is inside resources, views and layouts, app. So here you can search for logout, and this is the code for logout. So this is the route name, and this is already the post. Since in the web.php you can see we have already used post, then this code will work fine. So now with the help of auth class you will get logout, and with all the sessions created would be lost, and now you are redirected to login page. And if I search for home again, it's a problem here, I have access to it. So we want to block that. So we are going to introduce a new concept called middleware. So what is middleware? In Laravel, if you type something in the URL, before showing the page, Laravel has a concept called middleware. So understand middleware as a cheese for the bread. So when there is a request, we have a middleware checks whether there is any condition for this page, and if there is no condition, then it will proceed and show the page, or else you will throw an error. So before showing this page, I want the Laravel to show an error saying that you only can access this page if you are a registered user. So let's just create a middleware for that. Middleware is the thing that this is the middleware code, just like we did for controller. So there is middleware in app, http middleware. Inside the middleware we have login check, which we have created right now. So this is the reason why we have direct access. So just before here we want to create a condition. This condition is only the logged in user can have access to this next step. If you are not a logged in user, you don't have access to it. And send back to register page. We can send them back to the register page. Send back to register page saying that create account first. Now this is not enough. The next process is you need to register this middleware in the kernel.php. Just get into that middleware group, just make a duplicate of this, and this is the class name and this is the nickname, and you need to make sure you use the proper nickname, because we will be using this nickname in the controller. So sorry, in the web.php. In the web.php you have to find which in the middleware you need to make, in the web.php you have to find which URL you want to block to have that condition only the logged in user can have access. So in this case it's just the home. So just copy that, and over here you have to create a route group. So in the route group you have to pass that URL which has the condition, and this is the nickname that we are using. So if I try to access the URL without accessing, I am sent back to the register page saying that create account first. Again, if I try to access the home, I'll get a message saying that create account first, or login. Or in the middleware you can say or login pool. Let's just try access one more time. I won't be able to access it. So if I try to log in with the user Agnel or Vishal, which I have created first, we have only 2 rows. Now you will have access to it. Hello from UI Monk. So if I log out and get into home again, I won't have access to it. You see, create account first or login. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for